Hey y'all, Uncle Jimmy here. When you speak for yourself, you're forced to think for yourself. And when you think for yourself, the sports world looks different. In order to enjoy this podcast and this show, you need to have the courage to look at the world from alternative points of view and not be offended when you disagree. Speak for yourself isn't your Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram feed. SFY tells you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. So, welcome aboard, buckle up, and enjoy the ride.
We start with the Cowboys.
Cowboy.
Jerry Jones won his war with Ezekiel Elliott. Jones can walk into the locker room today and tell his players the Dallas Cowboys take care of their own. He can point to the Pittsburgh Steelers and say, we're not like Pittsburgh. They don't take care of their own. They had a bad boy running back just like us, but they let Le'Veon Bell sit for a year and then sent him packing to the New York Jets. By making Zeke the highest paid running back at a time when the position is being devalued, at a time when Melvin Gordon is in a deadly war with the LA Chargers, and in the aftermath of Todd Gurley's playoff disappearance, Jerry's winning the propaganda war with his own players and players across the league. Jerry Jones is the ultimate player's owner. Zeke is Exhibit A through Z. Since entering the NFL, Zeke has been in and out of the principal's office for bad off-field behavior. That hasn't stopped Jerry Jones from loving Zeke, and it didn't stop Jerry from giving Zeke a 6-year, $90 million contract extension when Zeke had 2 years left on his rookie deal. You think Melvin Gordon and Le'Veon Bell don't wish they had been drafted by the Cowboys? There are clickbait media trolls who have tried to paint Jerry as a bigot over his reasonable position that players stand respectfully for the national anthem. You can't sell that bogus narrative in the Cowboys locker room or to smart football players who know the NFL is a platform to chase the bag of cash Jerry just gave Zeke. Yeah, Jerry won big here. The deal he cut with Zeke works on all levels. Zeke is worth every penny. He's the best back in football. He's the engine that drives the Dallas offense. And as early as next year, I say Zeke will be underpaid. And in 2 years, Zeke might be grossly underpaid. Right. The salary cap is going up. The players will have a new collective bargaining agreement this time next year. The new CBA will increase the percentage of revenue allocated to player salaries. The demand for professional football from television networks and streaming services has never been higher. All indicators point to a revenue explosion across the NFL over the course of Zeke's contract. And if you paid attention to what Jerry's been saying the past month, he made Zeke emotionally agree to a prenuptial agreement. Jerry's comments about honoring contracts and not renegotiating 3 months later were him telling Zeke, I'll make you the highest paid, but don't come running back in here after the new CBA. Jerry won this war. He made Zeke happy. He earned additional love within the Cowboys locker room, and he impressed players across the league, and he made a sound business decision. All right, joining the desk now is Fox NFL analyst Bucky Brooks from the NFL Network and Marcellus, get us rolling. Who won the war, Jerry Jones or Ezekiel Elliott?
Jerry Jones. Like you said, Jerry Jones won this war because of the muscular move he made in terms of approaching this contract. We all know Zeke just got paid, highest paid running back to ever touch the turf in NFL history. Yeah. And that's all you got. And that's a lot. That's security. That's peace of mind. But guess what Jerry gets? Jerry gets to know that, one, my franchise player is happy with peace, security. Great. But guess what else I get to do in this exchange? I'm exchanging value. I give you money. You give me responsibility on the field to continue to be the great workhorse you are, but off the field. I can umbrella this now saying, I invested in you. Not just money, but opportunity. And I know that this opportunity comes with a great responsibility because much is given, much is expected. Now, I'm going to look at you and always look at you through the eyes of being a Cowboy with the star next to your name. You're not a $3 million running back anymore. So don't go around this town, go around this world acting like some $3 million running back. When I give you these terms, they come at these terms. And that's why I think he won. He gave someone something but asked for even more than that person has shown to this point in return.
You know, I think this is really a win-win. It's a win for Zeke short term, he got the money that he wanted. He got $50 million guaranteed. He wanted to surpass Todd Gurley. He was able to do that, not only in guarantees, but in the way they stretched it out when they say the extension is the highest paid in football. But for Jerry Jones, this is the ultimate victory. It's the ultimate victory because basically he stretched him out on a long-term deal that by year 2 or 3, Zeke is going to be begging to come back and get some more money. And it's no more money that's going to be out there. So for 8 years, I have my best player under contract. And those terms, when the new CBA comes, $12 million, $13 million, going to look like peanuts at that position. And so Jerry Jones, being the businessman that he is, he understood, he stretched it out, and he has won. Because now he not only has Zeke, but he's gotten everybody. He has everybody signing these long-term deals. La'el Collins, he got Jalen Smith, he has him. He's going to probably get Byron Jones and somebody else. All of these guys are going to be under contract, and they're going to be grossly underpaid when the new CBA comes in.
All right, let's go a deeper layer, and Marcellus has already hinted at it. You think the Cowboys trust Zeke? Does Jerry trust Zeke to stay out of trouble?
No. Look, this is not trust. Trust doesn't have another layer called hope on top of it. Trust is an expectation. And, the best indicator of future behavior is past behavior. So there's no trust in Zeke because of his past behavior. But there is a hope. There's this new responsibility that comes from this new contract that you're hoping that he does better. I've been in too many situations, too many relationships where someone didn't trust me. For good reason, too, but they didn't trust me. And guess what they would say before I left the house? Well, I hope you have a good night. I hope you are good tonight. I hope you come home. What? Because you don't trust me. For good reason. And Jerry Jones is now hoping that Zeke is more than he's ever displayed. But in reality, that's not really trust, because if it was trust, it would be a security with this. They're still not secure in their position in terms of how responsible he'll be off the field.
No, they don't care about the character stuff. They know exactly what this is. This is all about the P's, production and performance. As long as Zeke is producing and performing at a high level, the Cowboys will tolerate the stuff that he's been involved in. Anytime that his production and performance begins to slip, that's when you begin to hear it's being an issue in the locker room. And so the Dallas Cowboys know this is our best player. He's the one that kind of drives the bus. But as soon as he begins to fall off, the character issues that he may have been involved with off the field, that's when they'll become.
I don't know about that. You know why? I mean, here's another P, personality. We always say the production-personality balance has to be equal. In this situation, what are the contract terms? The microscopic fine print that may let them off the hook as soon as you step outside the line. So I'm not sure of that yet. That is something that Zeke and Jerry certainly know, and I think that was part of the negotiation. What took it so long, the sticking points is, let's get fine with these details more so than just how much you're going to make.
Yeah, that very well could be a part of it because you would like to protect yourself.
Well, Bucky, I think it's interesting you said you don't think they care. And I just think at these prices, when they step out there and like, you're the highest paid running back in the league, in a league where there's all this pressure to devalue, don't go over the Todd Gurley bar. They jumped, and so I do think they care. They do want to see Zeke not back in the principal's office, not in the headline.
They don't want to see that, but they value the performance and the production. Remember, this is the same franchise. No disrespect, they signed Greg Hardy. They've signed guys with questionable character before. Now, Jerry has a soft spot in his heart where he'll try and rehabilitate those guys. But at the end of the day, it's a business. And the way that you win in this business is to have the most talented roster. They're banking on Zeke's talent. They're banking on his ability to really continue to be a rushing champion, to get them over the top. And they're hoping that the time bomb won't go off while he's still playing at a high level.
Well,
go ahead. I agree with you to this extent that Jerry also has, 25 years worth of NFL ownership experience with the Dallas Cowboys, and he's been like, oh, I had Michael Irvin.
Yes.
And so we had him out wide at receiver. Now we have a Michael Irvin in the backfield, and Emmett and Troy is now Amari Cooper and Dak Prescott, guys that we can trust. I do think, though, at this stage, with this kind of money on the line, it's a different era. I do think there are some expectations placed on Dak of like, hey, man, stay between these lines. We've done enough. I went to war with the commissioner over you, and burned up part of my relationship with the commissioner's office for you, I do think there are some expectations. And I actually do think there's a level of trust that Zeke is going to meet him. I really believe that.
And I really believe it as well. I've experienced it from being a second rounder to being a backup to becoming a franchise player. Sets of rules and expectations come with that ascension. And one thing they teach you in sociology, just to know how the human mind works, is location and price when you're talking about walking in the store. Everyone thinks you just walk in the store and their items are just there and you can buy them, just walk out. Oh, it's a masterful, masterminded experience. They put the convenience and the products for men in the front because we lazy as hell. We ain't walking through this whole store for what we want. And they put the women's stuff in the back because they're going to travel with the effort to go get what they want. When you're a franchise player and you're on full display, guess what? That star is next to your name no matter what you do. You have to act accordingly. When you were a $3 million undervalued running back that was one of the best in the league, okay, you acting like you're getting paid, $3 million. You're not lowly anymore, so your responsibilities have increased with your dollars.
Oh, you certainly increased the standard of expectation because he is the franchise player, and they're paying him as such. But he and Dak Prescott and Jalen Smith and the other guys that they've written those big checks to, they expect those guys to have a certain level of performance on and off the field. But, yeah, they're paying him for what he does on the field.
All right, it's Wednesday. Football gets the preparation for this weekend really begins today. Cowboys play the Giants. Speculation is Zeke gets 24, 25 snaps. Can the Cowboys count on him to deliver this weekend against the Giants?
They shouldn't. They should not feed them to the wolves. Soft tissue, a hamstring always disagrees with a holdout. I'm telling you, it never wants to come into a situation like this and go 0 to 100. It just doesn't work out typically. Zeke should have a measured experience. You talk about him coming back. Pollard was the toast of the town during the preseason. Let's keep talking about him. Why? The Cowboys, remember when Zeke was suspended, 2017. The 3 weeks before his return, they were averaging 30 points a game. When he returned, they averaged 9 points a game. Zeke didn't even have a touchdown when he returned. All I'm saying is this is a team that can win without Zeke or at least put up points without Zeke. We're still going to have Zeke, but please give him a lesser experience in the beginning because this is a marathon. You got to see him at the end.
Yeah, you need to see him at the end. So I'll be very conservative with him the first month of the season. The first game and the second game, minimal play time. I want to make sure that we get him with the strength and conditioning staff and see where he is. Maybe you can put him out there spot duty. You talked about 20 to 25 plays. That may be a lot to put him on the field. I'm definitely not giving him more than 10 or so touches. You want to make sure that he is at his best at the end of the year. Yeah. And so even if you take an L or two at the beginning, protecting the franchise, I would do that. I can't throw him right out there.
I can protect him, but I'm not comfortable losing to the Giants at all.
Why?
There's only 16 games.
Divisional game.
In the divisional game. No, I'm not comfortable losing this game. I do agree with you. They need to, if the guy gets 7 carries this weekend, they need to be satisfied with that. The concern I have, again, is when you send Dak out there without his security blanket, that's the guy that I would be most worried about. He doesn't have his new contract. He needs to get the ball rolling very early because I'm sure he hasn't given up on trying to get his new contract as soon as possible. He might need Zeke more than anybody else on that roster.
If I'm Dak right now, this is a prime opportunity to show you my value. Why? I got Zeke, who just came from Cabo, so let's not test him. I got Amari Cooper, who missed all of the summer with his plantar fasciitis. And I got Jason Witten from Monday Night Football just now. I don't really have anything out here, like in full totality. Let me show you who I am and make something out of this. This is a great time for him.
Hey guys, this is Jason Whitlock from Speak for Yourself. Are you ready for what's ahead? You can't always predict the future, but you can game plan for it. Generations of families and businesses have harnessed the power of Pacific to help them reach their unique goals. Whether you need to save enough money to meet your needs, ensure your family is protected, or make sure you don't run out of money, Pacific Life has a variety of financial solutions that can help. Pacific Life counts more than half of the 100 largest U.S. companies as its clients and has been named one of the 2019 world's most ethical companies by the Ethisphere Institute. Protecting what matters most to people for 150 years and counting? That's the power of Pacific. Ask a financial professional about how Pacific Life can help you game plan for the future, or visit pacificlife.com. Bucky Brooks is back. We're joined now by Fox NFL analyst Greg Jennings. Time now for a big story. Let's move to Green Bay, where the season hasn't even started, but there could be trouble brewing between Aaron Rodgers and new coach Matt LaFleur. Rodgers has made it known that he wants the freedom to change plays, which seemed to present an issue for LaFleur's regimented play calling system. The coach said Monday that his quarterback had the green light to audible, but he got flustered when the media raised the issue again yesterday.
You guys just will not stop with this audible thing. It's unbelievable. What do you guys want me to say? Yeah, I think that we've always had adjustments within our plays. Like, it's just we called it something different. And the fact that I didn't call it an audible, everybody's running wild with it. So it's comical to me. But like I said, I feel good with what we've got in our plan, how we've gotten to this point, and I'm confident that he's got a total command and control of what we're trying to get done.
Matt LaFleur is playing word semantics here. Adjustments within our play, that's different than an audible. That's staying within the play and making an adjustment.
Yeah.
Where Aaron Rodgers, I'm sure, wants the freedom to call an audible and call a new play. I think this is an issue.
This is a huge issue. I mean, we can see it coming, too. Run for cover. This is a recipe for disaster. You got someone who's been uber successful in Aaron Rodgers, stuck in his ways, a guy who audibled a third of Mike McCarthy's plays last year to the undermine of one Mike McCarthy, but still was successful his entire career having his freedom. And now you're trying to rein that in. With a Matt LaFleur, whose resume off of first impression doesn't match up to the greatness of Aaron Rodgers, so you're already looking at him a little dismissive, but you're buying in. Here's where it's all going to collapse and collide, and I think it's going to be disastrous. They have what they call canned plays, which is a little more than an audible. So audible typically is just, hey, it's an isolated play. You want to do something else, fine. But they run canned plays. So when you call an audible, it's connected to a sequence of other plays. And as you said, within this play, a sequence of other audibles. Guess what's going to happen? You call one isolated variable like you used to, Aaron Rodgers. It's affecting way more than you think. And who's going to win that tug of war? Who's going to win that seesaw battle?
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is, again, another coach. Common denominator between all these coaches is going to be Aaron Rodgers and the unfulfilled expectations in terms of Super Bowl championships. Are they going to go through that again? All I'm saying is, as all reality shows are scripted and all their plays are scripted, this is about to be a disaster.
It's not going to be a disaster starting out because it's Aaron Rodgers, and you got to trust that his body of work will show up on the field. Now, eventually, it's kind of like, and I'll use this analogy, I'm not calling anyone a dog, but it's like an owner having a dog. You have some owners who can put their dog on a leash and some who can walk their dog without the leash. Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys where you don't know if you need the leash until you see you don't need, or until you see you need the leash.
Too late.
Meaning, once the season starts, it's great because you know he hasn't been given that liberty to just run the plays that he wants to run. And you know when he does have that opportunity in 2-minute situations, what he will provide. So you give him that leeway, but then once it starts to get a little out of control, and again, back to the dog, when it starts running any and everywhere, and you're like, get back here, and it's not coming back, then it's like, I got to put that dog back on the leash. So then by that time, it's too late because the dog has experienced freedom, and it don't want that leash anymore.
Hey, can I fight back? Can I push back? Dog, you ready for this? Aaron Rodgers hasn't played a snap of preseason. With this new scheme, with this new coach, and this new variable, audible canned plays. And they play the Bears, the Vikings, the Broncos, and the Eagles in terms of defense and pass rush. And you saying this ain't going to be a disaster from the beginning?
It's not going to be a disaster from the beginning because you trust the body of work and what he's capable of doing.
This is a new body, though.
It is a new body.
Aaron Rodgers in a new body, a new system.
He's in a new system, but the guy who's at the helm, he's still that same bad man that we know that he can be. And what makes him even more special is when he's given that liberty to, in those 2-minute and no huddle situations, do you.
Yeah.
Do what makes you special. And that's what Matt LaFleur is saying. I'm going to let him do him until it gets blown up, until it blows up in my face. And then by that time, that's when I'm saying it's too late.
The only thing we have as players and as teammates and with our coaches, trust and communication. Something that Gunther Cunningham used to always talk about in Kansas City. So they start out the season, they're going to have a level of trust and communication. Where this could go awry is when adversity strikes in those first couple weeks. Aaron Rodgers is going to try and trust Matt LaFleur. And very early in the year, when things go bad, he's going to ask Matt LaFleur, what are the solutions to the problems that we're having? And if Matt LaFleur can't provide the answers, it's over with. It's going to go back to being what it was with Mike McCarthy. He's going to do his own thing. He's going to check and change, and Matt LaFleur will never be able to reel him in. So the pressure is really on Matt LaFleur because he wants it to be about his system and what they're doing and the way that they want to structure the plays. Cool, we're going to let you do it. But you better have answers. And you talked about the slate of games they have opening it up. They play those tough defenses. He better be on his P's and Q's. We didn't see that from Tennessee.
Let me ask you this, Greg. Who will the locker side with if there is an issue here?
Oh, that's easy. They're siding with Aaron. They're siding with Aaron. And why not? When he's been given the opportunity to be flexible and be free, it's proven to work. And we've seen highlight plays, unscripted, let him do what he does, and it works. The problem will arise when Matt LaFleur is asked, are the plays that you're calling, do they work? First read, second read, third. Every play caller in this game believes that the play that I called, there's an answer to within that play for any defense. And any quarterback or any player on opposing defense or offensive side of the ball, when they walk up to that line of scrimmage and they see a defense and it's set, they're saying, nah, this ain't gonna work. And so that's where the problem will eventually arise. If he gets bucked and saying, okay, you can't change every single play, which eventually, if he starts changing and checking out of those plays, he's gonna feel slighted, he being Matt LaFleur, like my plays, you think my plays don't work. And you're not even giving them a chance.
GJ, stop this. Trust is earned. So I'm not giving you jack, even though you're my new head coach. And then I start checking your resume and looking at your stripes. And I say, oh, you was the offensive coordinator with Tennessee last year. Oh, you got all the solutions? Oh, no, you don't. They were 27th in scoring. Okay, no, you was the Rams offensive coordinator. Oh, you didn't call plays. And I'm Aaron Rodgers, and I'm 35 years old, and I'm about to just give up. I'm about to give you that trust. That's not how it goes. That's not how it should go. So Matt LaFleur is on the hook to have solutions before you go into the game. Preparation is separation. You can't win a game on Sunday. It's over by then. If we are not in agreement and we have no reps with live bullets doing this, I'm just saying that's a calculation for disaster.
Joined by the great Frank Caliendo.
Can't laugh on my intro.
I can look at you and laugh. Yes, I can.
Time now for Darnell's question of the day.
Oh, man, here we go.
Darnell, take it away.
Sir, let's move to the Cowboys, who have handed out over $313 million this summer. Ezekiel Elliott just got his record-setting deal. After DeMarcus Lawrence, Jalen Smith, and Lyle Collins already got big deals with their own. And it seems like new deals for Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper right around the corner. Whitlock, I know last year you said the Rams wouldn't get far after paying their guys. So I got to ask, with all this money flying around, do you think the Cowboys would be too fat and happy to compete for a Super Bowl this year?
You know what? I'm glad you reminded me of I spent all offseason last year. Rams gonna fall apart. Everybody got too much money.
Right.
And they went all the way to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'm gonna double down.
Oh.
I'm gonna double down.
That's how Vegas keeps getting built.
And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why.
Why?
If they pay Dak Prescott anything over $30 million a year, this team's gonna fall apart.
Whitlock.
That's the bridge too far.
Whitlock,
Yeah.
another hotel next to the Wynn you just built with your doubling down? Okay, go upstairs. You were wrong about the Rams.
Yeah.
I'm going to personalize this story. When I got paid, I had a broken foot and actually went out there because the pressure switches. It switches from, I have to go out there and prove it to get it, to now I got to prove it because I got it. And don't take it just me or the Rams. A-Rod. The A-Rod in 2000 signed the biggest deal in sports history, doubled the biggest deal by Kevin Garnett in the NBA, $252 million in 2000. And guess what he said when he got caught for PEDs? He said, man, I felt like I had the weight of the world on top of me. I needed to perform and perform at a high level every day when I arrived with that new contract. I'm telling you, the pressure switches. This team is just going to be as motivated.
So the Cowboys are going to be strung out on drugs, it sounds like. PEDs,
Thanks for the lead-in. I agree with Marcellus on this, and I was actually planning to be very serious and talk real sports, and then I got going, and I just started thinking of Jerry Jones and the way that I believe that the way that we approach this, that we make people happy, and when we're making our players happy, that they will become happy. Now, if it's down the road, let's say it's 6 or 7 years. That may not be the same happiness that is this next couple years, but there is a window. And in that window, that's where we are looking to keep our guys, Dak and Zeke and all our other guys, at an elite level. And when they're performing to positive pressure, that's the pressure that Marcellus Wiley is not just a name, it's what he is. He's very wily. And when I say that, it's not Wild E. Coyote. There is no anvil being dropped on him. We're talking about a man who's thinking ahead and planning.
Every time I watch Jerry Jones, I start out kind of against like what he's going to say, and then by the end, he's like hypnotized me into it. He's like, we will have. A lot of people say we would not get this Zeke thing worked out, but it did work out once we explained to Zeke what working out was. And once he understood where we were coming from, we took pieces of the pie. And that pieces of pie, there is one pie this year. But what people did not realize, that for every year you play, there is a new pie. So we took pies from the future, brought those pies to the past. You might, it's like using the time stone.
Man, you stop.
You
got me over here sweating, man. That's so funny.
Dr. Strange actually came to me.
That's Jerry, man.
In one of those. But every time you listen, you're at the beginning of it, you're like, no way. And then you're like, tell me more, Jerry.
Yeah, Whitlock, when you don't have a show and you're just a guest on a show, and PTI, and you have your own show, more pressure. When you get the big bucks, you feel a different pressure, more pressure, or at least the same level. It just transfers.
Well, I agree with you in terms of the same level of pressure. Yeah. But I will say, you're right, when it's like, damn, your reputation is on the line. But I just think everybody on this Cowboys team.
Yeah, what we don't want, Jason, is a happy family. What we want is only individuals being happy, and that's like the Kardashians. There's never. I love all these references I'm using are things he would never pay attention to.
Right.
But I'll say this in all seriousness.
Okay.
I just think Dak Prescott's been a nice little story. The little engine that's overcome. He's 4th-round pick. No one believed in him. I think that energy's been great motivation for Dak, and they need another year of that. But I'm just telling you, if they go too far and give Dak more than $30 million a year, I just think it's going to have a negative impact on Dak, and it's going to have a negative impact on the team. I don't have a problem with all these other guys getting paid, but $30+ million for
Well, everyone hasn't gotten paid. Let's just be real. Byron Jones hasn't gotten paid. Van Der Esch hasn't gotten paid. He's young. Amari Cooper hasn't gotten paid. Dak hasn't gotten paid. There's enough hungry people around to sit there and say, hey, man.
And that's why we're going to get pies from the future.
Jason Garrett is on a contract year. The coach is hungrier than all the players. So guess what? They're motivated.
Their culture will be hungry. And as I pointed out, I think previously, Jerry Jones's history is he'll take care of you if you perform.
Absolutely.
So there is a positive spin to this in terms of taking care of Zeke. It's going to play well in that locker room. If I'm great, come hell or high water, Jerry Jones is going to take care of me. That's great motivation inside that locker room.
I didn't plan this, but it just happened. Jay Glazer's in my head going, listen, I was just out there. I was talking to everybody. I was talking to Jerry Jones and trying to keep up with the Joneses. That's exactly what we're going to do that. The Joneses is actually going to be
that's actually going to be a show that's like the Kardashians. It's going to be incredible. You're just going to go and count Jerry's money with him. That's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in my entire life. You actually, you guys, by the way, on my way here, I worked out on my way to a workout. Anybody ever do that before? Nobody else does that. You guys don't understand. I was up at 3 a.m. just to be awake in time for my 4 o'clock wake up. That's how it's going to. And what else happened to me? There's another thing that happened. I don't like to tell this a lot, but Demi Lovato knocked my tooth out. I don't know if anybody saw it. It went viral. A lot of people are saying this. And I do things with The Rock. Dwayne Johnson, you ever hear of him? Yeah. Not as big of a name as me, but still a pretty big guy. One time I ran through a wall, didn't even know I was doing it. But it's one of those things that when normal people run through a wall, it's like Bugs Bunny, you see the outline of their body. Me, it was just a bowling ball. I don't even know what the question was. I just want to do this impression and throw you guys completely off. By the way, the pie thing made me hungry, but I'm not going to eat it because I'm just doing all eggs.
Joined now by Fox College football analyst Joel Klatt. We'll get to Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines in a minute, but let's start with another head coach, Hugh Freeze, who coached Liberty University to a shutout loss to Syracuse from the comfort of a hospital bed this past week. He initially wanted to coach from a hotel room, but the NCAA wouldn't let him, so he settled on a hospital bed from the press box. But now Freeze is now ditching the bed entirely, hoping he'll be well enough to coach from a chair on the road against Louisiana. But he won't know until Thursday if he'll actually be able to make the trip. All right, Joel, Marcellus and I brutalized Hugh Freeze. We don't like it. It was, hey, look
I'm aware. I've seen. I've heard.
We brutalized. Oh, my. Is Hugh Freeze a distraction right now?
All right, so I want to go. I'm going to take a step back before answering. I will answer that specifically in just a second. But first, I want to kind of define what I believe it means to be a quality coach. You've got to do a few things. One, you've got to develop young men into men, and you've also got to develop and teach your staff how to do that as well. And so part of this is the fact that great coaches understand when and how they need to delegate in order for the program to do well. Okay, that's just part of the deal. And then you have to understand also when your interests are ahead of the players and when your players' interests are ahead of you. So a lot of things going on here, right, that are not just about like wins and losses and everything. This is part of the human aspect of being a football coach at any level, much less the college level. Now, having said that, I'm not a huge fan of this. I really am not. I agree with you guys. Because, to me, it's an admission that you have not developed a staff that you trust that can handle this without you in a hospital bed in the booth. That just doesn't – I mean, it's one thing if he can sit in the booth and he's like, well, I'm going to have to coach from the booth and I'll be in the booth, and he's sitting there with the headset on and he looks like any other staff member. He's in a hospital bed in the booth. Can you really see the game all that well from a hospital bed? It doesn't seem right to me, right? It seems – I don't want to say it's a gimmick because I don't think it's a gimmick. If his health is at this point, then he needs to go and get the proper help in order to get healthy. So at that point, I just don't love it. And then the last aspect of this is, as a player, one of the toughest choices and decisions you have to make as a player is when you're hurt or injured, you've got to know the point in time in which your injury is preventing you from helping your team win and when you're actually hurting your team. You got to know that point, right? Yeah. And your coaches stress it all the time. It's like, you got a bum ankle. It's like, how can you go? Well, don't just tell me yes if you're just going to go out there and be a guy.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've heard it. We've seen it in the movies. Are you hurt or are you injured?
That's right.
There's a big difference here. Well, you don't want to say this is a gimmick? I will, and I'm comfortable saying this is a gimmick. Not that he's hurt is a gimmick. It's when it connects to what your position and responsibility is as a head coach of a college football team. And now this is what you want to do, clout chasing, the attention that comes from this. Two mantras have been compromised by him just being this distraction. I talked about one yesterday. We were talking about next man up. Drew Bledsoe goes down, next man up. Tom Brady, we win a Super Bowl. Hey, Carson Wentz goes down, next man up. Nick Foles, we win a Super Bowl. You can win a Super Bowl with next man up as a philosophy, and now your coach can't trust in your coaching staff? Oh, poor Scott Simons, Ken Austin, and Maurice Harris. Y'all the O&D coordinators of this damn team? No one cares because your coach doesn't trust you. Here's my biggest issue with this. This guy is going around, and for 18 days, he has not been at practice or with his team. 18 days. I know you're injured, coach. We get it. But if you haven't been here for practice all this time, you just want to show up for game days. Last time I checked, I was in the locker room. My coach used to always tell me, you can't just show up for game day, Wiley. We need it every day of the week. Preparation's a separation. If you don't give it to me now, you can't just hit the switch and turn it on then. But he giving the thumbs up and they down 24-0. If he don't get out of here with this gimmick, man, sorry, coach. When you right, come back. Until then, stay away.
I don't disagree with that. You cannot go to a game if you have not practiced. No player would be allowed to suit up if he has not been at practice for 18 days.
18 days.
My point on this was about just we love to talk about athletes and their egos, and coaches have just as big egos and even bigger. And this to me reminds me, and you made the point about recognizing, hey, are you hurt or are you injured and are you really helping your team? This goes back to I was critical of RG3, his rookie year, playing Seattle in that playoff game on the bum, ankle, knee, whatever it was. And I was like, hey, man, he needs to get out of there because he's actually hurting his team the entire second half. He can't perform. And I thought he was taping his Nike or Gatorade commercial, and this was his Jordan moment, his flu game, and it hurt the Washington Redskins. Hugh Freeze, the same thing. All right, let's move to Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines, whose season is off to a promising start after scoring 40 points in Week 1 where they debuted their new spread offense. This season, Harbaugh has surrendered control of play calling to new offensive coordinator Josh Gaddis, who he said was practically flawless in Week 1. Joel, I think Harbaugh perhaps is listening to his critics and delegating properly, I would think, to Josh Gaddis. I think this is a smart move by Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, so I don't know if he's listening to his critics as much as he watched the film against Ohio State and Notre Dame a year ago. And this is what I mean by that. In the Harbaugh era, they have been really good against the teams that they're supposed to beat. And then as soon as they line up against a team that they are, evenly matched with or even overmatched, what happens is that they have an inability to move the football when the run is taken away from them. So their ability to throw it relied on the fact that they needed play action or they needed 2nd and 5 but as soon as you were in 2nd and long, 3rd and long, and you knew they were dropping back between the tackles, they were not very good throwing the football. And so when they got down against Notre Dame, when they got down against Ohio State last year, that's the MO. It was basically done because they can't come back. They had no secondary pitch. So I think that's what the change in philosophy was all about. And to that point, in Week 1 against Middle Tennessee, Shea Patterson threw 25 passes in the first half. He averaged throwing 25 passes a game last year. This is a much more up-tempo, wide-open style of offense that I think suits their players a lot more. They've got 3 of the best wide receivers in the country. Now, one of them did not play in Week 1 because he had a boot on his right foot, but they've got some really special players. And so what they did is they took the fullback out of the lineup. They got a 3rd wide receiver on the field, and I think this is the right way to go for Jim Harbaugh because it fixes what was clearly a glaring issue when overmatched in previous seasons, and it also puts the personnel that can be most successful for you this year on the field.
Look, I'm going to quote Jack Sears here, who is the USC 4-star quarterback.
The transfer portal.
Yeah, transfer portal. Dude said something very profound that applies right here. If the plan doesn't work, change the plan, but never the goal. Guess what? This is a team that has never finished better than 10th in this final ranking. This is a team that has won the conference championship with Jim Harbaugh. Guess what? He's realized that, you know what? I am going to listen to my critics. I am going to self-correct. I am going to grade myself. And I also not going to be so stubborn to think I know it all and every level of advancement, especially when it comes to the offensive side of the football. So if you watched their game last week and you see the 2 quarterbacks sometimes in there at the same time, you start to realize that they're putting a lot more responsibility at the quarterback position because they want more out of this offense. So that's not the best indicator of 40-21 score against a lowly opponent, but it shows that they are certainly interested in doing more and being more dynamic. That's a self-correction that I'm always in favor of.
I'm always in favor of listening to my critics.
Same here.
I really believe in that. And that doesn't mean they're all right, but I always learn something about myself. So I think even if Jim Harbaugh I think it's a healthy thing if he's listening to his critics and making adjustments. I think smart people do that.
To your point, I think you make a great point. To your point, some of the best defensive coaches in our sport, in the college game, have gone the route of changing their offensive philosophy in order to keep up with other high-powered offenses.
Yes.
You know how I know that? Nick Saban's Alabama team last year threw as a team 52 touchdown passes. 52 touchdown passes. Guess what? That led the country. If you were to tell me in 2010 that Nick Saban's team was going to lead the country throwing for touchdown passes, I would have said, you're crazy. That's not his philosophy. But what did he start to realize? He started getting beat by Deshaun Watson in the national championship. He said, I've got to change my offense. I got to get a quarterback out there that can spread it out and score points. And last year they threw 52 touchdown passes. So even great coaches like Nick Saban know that they have to adapt eventually and evolve eventually. And I think this is part of that process for Jim Harbaugh.
Joined once again by Bucky Brooks and Joel Klatt. All right, let's return to the NFL and another contract extension that is shaking the league this afternoon. The Los Angeles Rams handed their quarterback, Jared Goff, a $134 million contract extension. It's a 4-year deal that averages $33.5 million a year. It's a bad deal. It's a ridiculous deal. Goff isn't worth it, not yet. But this is what we do with NFL quarterbacks. We pay them for what they might do. The Saints gave star receiver Michael Thomas a $100 million extension based on what he has done in his first 3 years in the NFL. Thomas led the league in receptions last season with 125. He caught 104 balls the year before. The Cowboys gave star running back Ezekiel Elliott $90 million in extension money based on what he's accomplished his first 3 years in the league. He led the league in rushing his rookie year and last season. Jared Goff has yet to lead the league in anything. He helped the Rams advance to the Super Bowl. He might develop into one of the league's top 5 quarterbacks. Might. There's a flaw in the NFL pay system. Young quarterbacks get paid on potential. Everyone else gets paid on production. The Dallas Cowboys are about to overpay their young quarterback, Dak Prescott. Dak is a shorter version of Goff with a lower ceiling and less postseason success. The market dictates that Dak be paid as much as Goff and the Eagles' young quarterback, Carson Wentz. The market isn't always right. You remember the inflated housing market from a decade ago. For about 10 straight years, greedy mortgage companies took advantage of lax housing loan laws and sold homes to low-level hourly employees with bad credit scores and even worse debt-to-cash ratios. A handful of smart investors shorted the housing market. I'm doing the same thing to the quarterback market. Counting practice squad players, there are roughly 2,000 NFL players. Of that 2,000, approximately 100 of them are quarterbacks. That's 5%. Eventually, the other 95% of NFL players are going to figure out the QB market is unfair to them. Every NFL rule change the past 40 years has made the quarterback position easier to play. You can't hit them low. You can't hit them high. You can't fall on top of them with your full weight. You can't jam their receivers for more than 5 yards. And now, if they show the tiniest bit of potential, NFL executives rush to overpay them. But Le'Veon Bell, Zeke Elliott, you guys tote this rock 350 to 400 times a year in the running and passing games, and we'll make you beg for half the salary of an average quarterback. Melvin Gordon, we don't need you. You're easily replaced. No one is going to complain when Patrick Mahomes gets paid $40 million a year. He's the reigning MVP. No one cares what Aaron Rodgers earns. Russell Wilson, get your money, honey. But making it rain on Goff, Dak, Wentz, Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, come on, man, that's insanity. This has to stop at some point. You know Jacoby Brissett is going to make the same money as Zeke this year? The 95% will wake up someday and realize this current pay system is unfair to them. They have to prove their worth to get paid. Quarterbacks just have to prove their potential. All right, guys, Marcellus, get us rolling. Is Goff still proof young quarterbacks are overpaid?
No.
No?
No. I think you've forgotten a couple elements here. One, every deal is a balance between potential and production. Every deal. And it's not just for the young, it's for the old as well. I got a couple examples here. One, if you're a 30-year-old Ezekiel Elliott who's been productive, You think they're going to pay you the same as they do when you're 24 years old?
Nope.
No. You know why? Because the potential, the forecast is different. You don't believe that, huh? Let's go back to this quarterback position. Proven or not, and let's talk about the most proven, Tom Brady. He just got a contract extension that took him from $15 to $23 million. Oh, look at that face. I like that face right there. And you know why? Because the potential of you doing this.
He ain't greedy, but go ahead.
If the potential of Tom Brady continue to do this, let's bet against it. Let's just say that. Oh, it's not just Tom Brady. Drew Brees had to take $25 million per. And this is Drew Brees, MVP candidate last year. It's not just potential. Even when production has been shown, we still have an issue with you. So I like Jared Goff's deal for this simple fact. Last year in the Final Four of football, we saw 4 quarterbacks. We saw Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes, and to your point, coincidentally, to my point, oh, it's a reason, Jared Goff. So if you want to now just say he just lucked up and got there and doesn't deserve this money, I'm waiting for the next Whitlock, big dog.
I'm going to let y'all go ahead while I marinate.
Listen, I agree with Marcellus wholeheartedly. You act like he hasn't done anything. If you take away playing for a coach that was awful for him as a quarterback.
Awful.
100%. Jeff Fisher was awful for Jared Goff. Wouldn't you agree? Awful.
Yeah,
give him an actual coach. What has he done? 24-7 as a starter, 60 touchdowns and 19 interceptions with a completion percentage of 63. That's unbelievable. That is
probably
damn
the
good.
12th best quarterback.
He also went to a Super Bowl. You act like
12th best quarterback. Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl.
I'll tell you. Answer me something.
Yeah.
When's the last time the NFL rushing leader in the same year won the Super Bowl?
Ooh.
I don't
Just take a stab
care.
at it. No, take a stab at it.
I don't care.
It was Terrell Davis in 1998. You know
don't
why that's
care.
important? Because it doesn't matter anymore.
Get 'em.
Folks, in football, you pay one guy. And the reason is because that's the straw that stirs the drink.
And every role has been catered to him to make sure he can stir the drink.
That's not his fault.
Hey,
that's not his fault.
That's not the straw fault.
You don't
if
pay
I'm
a
an
running
NFL
back.
player and I'm looking at all the money being funneled in one direction,
That's
and
the
they keep
player's
making it
issue.
lead, again, that's my point.
I'm a team. I'm trying to win rings. Guess how I win rings?
I'm not blaming the
paying
team.
running backs.
I'm trying
and
to
wide
wake up the
receivers.
other 95% that there's one group of people that are being
What are they
treated
gonna do
special.
about it?
You know, they
What are
got
they
a
gonna do
union.
about it? Stop?
They have a union.
What are they gonna
that should
do?
try to address this.
Try to address it. Hey, we should stop paying those guys that are the reason we win Super Bowls. What are you talking about?
If you think that's what Zeke thinks, you crazy.
Zeke
if the
doesn't-
Cowboys win a Super Bowl, it won't be
No,
because,
no.
Dak did it.
Zeke was not holding out for a Super Bowl ring. Let's be very
He's holding
clear
out for
about this.
money.
That's right. See, the player
Because
is
he'd
concerned-
earned it.
Stop. The player is concerned about the individual. The team is concerned about the team. That's why, as a team, if I was an NFL GM, guess how many times I would pay a running back or a wide receiver top 5 money in the NFL? Never. You know why? Because you don't win rings that way. Ask Terrell Owens and Randy Moss and Des Bryant and Odell Beckham and Antonio Brown. Did they ever win rings? No, they didn't.
Who are their quarterbacks? I think that's the big issue. Who are the quarterbacks that were throwing to those guys? And what are they doing? Because here's where I have an issue. I have an issue that we can have any average quarterback make a bunch of money, and we don't dispute it. Jacoby Brissett is making more money than Zeke. Jacoby Brissett is making more money than Zeke.
But isn't he more important to the Colts?
Is he? Is he a better player? If we were at the park, let's just take it. If we were at the park and this was the Turkey Bowl, and I had first pick, and I got Zeke, and I got Jacoby Brissett, who you want, Marcellus?
Don't put me in that.
Who you want? Who
I'm
you
not
gonna
here
take?
for that.
Yeah.
I'm here for the food.
So it's
I'm here for the turkey.
It's as simple as that. When we think about quarterbacks and the guys that should be in the $30 million club, it's only a handful of them. It's Brady, it's Breeze, it's Rodgers, it's Roethlisberger. We throw Russell Wilson in there, and then there's some possibles. But when we keep giving out these contracts, Jimmy Garoppolo, how did that treat us? $27.5 million. We're not getting a return on our investment. We're not going to the Super Bowl. Derek Carr, I hear he played at an MVP level, but he didn't win the MVP. So why are we continuing to dole out money to quarterbacks that we know aren't guys? They aren't the dude, but we fight guys that prove it on the field. It just bothers me. It's the only position where you can get away with being average and be a guy that is at the top of the food chain.
And it's because none of the other guys are the engine to the train.
Ooh.
Zeke Elliott
Ooh,
is
no.
the engine
No, he's
in
not.
Dallas.
No, he's
Jerry
not.
Jones just called him the best
Ooh.
player on the team.
Okay, great. And guess what that's
He's
going to get
the
you?
owner.
Not a Super Bowl ring.
Ooh.
You're not going to ride a running back to a Super Bowl. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
I think you are taking some crazy
To me,
pills.
it's a hierarchy, right? It's a hierarchy. And I'm an elitist. I played the position. Not very well, but I played it. If you don't have the quarterback, nothing else matters. That's why these quote-unquote average players, and I agree with you, these guys get paid too much for what they've actually done in the league, but it's because of how you have to build a team in the league in order to win a Super Bowl.
My point is, that's a great management argument. I'm talking directly to NFL players, the other 95%. Zeke's going to carry the ball between the passing and running game close to 400 times. He's going to take the most punishment on that Cowboys team, and particularly between him and Dak. And I'm just sorry. If I'm that guy, if I'm these other 95% that are laying it out there physically every week, and they're not making the game every damn rule change, make it easier for me to make tackles, I'm sitting there looking around like, why are we putting up with this system that the quarterbacks, they don't have to be that damn
against the
good?
system,
Where are they going to go?
I have one thing to introduce to our conversation that may bring some light to it. I resist this morality that you're trying to bring into my meritocracy of sports, because with title does bring inflation. And if you don't believe me, go grab the best teacher in the world, professor, whoever it may be, and grab the worst CEO of a successful company and ask me who's gonna get paid more. So don't give me, well, you know what, your impact is greater and you're doing this and that. You know what?
They work in two different professions, teacher and CEO.
And you know what? They work in two different professions, and the way we get down in the playbook, in the locker room. A quarterback has to know 11 positions. No one else on that roster raises their hand to say that. And I'm going to tell on myself, damn it. There were times when coach would say, Marcellus, you got C gap, cool. And then he'll go to Pat Williams, the D tackle. You got B gap, cool. Come back, coach. Don't ask me what Pat got, because I know I got C gap. The damn quarterback can never answer that question like that and go out there and ball out. He is the CEO amongst a bunch of us.
You know what?
But is he really, though?
Yeah, that part.
So, like,
Who has the most rings in NFL history?
My issue with the whole quarterback thing, we're just paying the quarterback to be the quarterback, is because this is what we heard, and this is what we heard about Andrew Luck. Oh, my God, they ruined his career because they didn't give him help. Well, dang it, why are we paying him so much money if we got to help him? What is the point of paying him all that money if we got to now support him, get him an O-line, get him wide receivers, get him a running back? Where's the money going? Why are we paying him if we value him that much? Why are we paying the quarterback top dollar?
If you don't have him, you don't have a chance.
Yes.
That's the point, right? So it's the number one. I can't get to 5, Bucky, unless I put number 1 there
If
first.
you don't have him.
If you don't have him, you don't have a chance.
Super Bowl
With Nick Foles.
with their backup
The same Nick
quarterback.
Foles that I saw play for the Rams. That Nick Foles. He won a Super Bowl.
He won a Super Bowl.
Yep, he sure did.
But if you don't have him, you don't have a chance. Because no one else on that Philadelphia team had anything to do with that.
Mighty
And if
Nick Foles.
If the 95% of the NFL players are good with Joe's argument, y'all have.
What
you
are
know
the
what?
players
Don't even
gonna
show
do?
up on Sunday. Just let the quarterback out there. He's got it.
This is the real thing. Joe said the realest
What are
thing.
they gonna do?
Joe
What are the
said
players
the
gonna
realest
do?
thing, and y'all just gonna go fly by this. This is, okay, walk with me real quick. This is what they tell us in special teams meetings about blocking kicks. They say, if you go 100%, I can't guarantee you'll block it. But if you don't go 100%, I can guarantee you won't. If you ain't got a quarterback, I can guarantee you ain't got a chance. And that's what this situation is. Prove me wrong.
I could go through the list of teams that
In
won
this
Super Bowls
era?
with bad quarterbacks.
In this era?
list
Hell,
is
Jared
small.
Goff's average
That's-
ass just went to the Super
Oh,
Bowl.
we going
That's
there?
the exception,
Because
not the
he had
rule.
Todd Gurley.
In the AFC,
How that looking at
Because he had Todd Gurley. I know
Because he had
everyone
Aaron
dismisses
Donald.
Todd Gurley.
Aaron
Todd-
Donald
he was
needs to be getting
Todd
that
Gurley was hurt.
$134 million contract. He's the man.
The bowling ball was playing, not Gurley.
look,
Ooh, Gurley.